Back in May of 2025, I went on my yearly vacation to the great state of Colorado. And while there, I did hit some record stores and picked up some metal vinyl. So let's briefly go through the 26 records I bought, because I've got some new stuff, some old stuff, and maybe even a grail or two. Stay tuned. So when I usually go to Colorado, I try to see at least one metal show, sometimes two of them, but I just didn't find a show I wanted to go to this time around. However, I did get to go to some fantastic record stores in the area, and I always look forward to that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love visiting folks and spending time in the mountains as well, but I really just couldn't overstate how cool a lot of these Colorado record shops are. I only wish we even had one of these in northern Vermont. Anyways, the newer released records I bought will likely be reviewed on future episodes of Vinyl Haul, so you should definitely check back in for more on those. I'll also go into more depth on the bootlegs I got the next time I do an episode of my bootleg show. A couple of these other records might also make their way to my 2025 Grails video, if I make one this year. And some of these might only get shown here, so something to look forward to. Also, I will be showing these records in the order in which I bought them, since that's how they ended up in my bag. Plus, I'll also mention from what store and in what city or town, so if you want to fire up Google Maps and follow along, then feel free to do so. Anyways, let's see what I got. First place I hit was Paradise Found in Boulder. Great shop that I always hit, and I did do an episode of the Record Store Report on this very store, so you should check that out when you have the time. Funny enough, within minutes of walking in, both the owner and the assistant manager came up to me and said hello separately. I think one of them even said, "Well, it's that time of year for Matt to visit." Indeed. Anyways, here's what I got. First up is Iron Maiden with Live at the Palladium, 1982. This is a bootleg from Room on Fire Records, 2023. And I gotta say, if it's tied to the early years of Maiden, that is everything between 1979 to 1985, it's likely I'll snag it. Love this era of the band and really looking forward to hearing this boot. Incidentally, this is my 6th Maiden bootleg, and it's likely that I'm not going to simply stop here. So yeah, there will be more. This is on blue vinyl. Get a quick shot of the track listings on the back here. Great songs. Looking forward to hearing, the usuals, Run to the Hills, Number of the Beast, all that, but we also have Phantom of the Opera with Bruce singing, as well as Wrathchild. That's going to be fun. Murders in the Rue Morgue. So yeah, there you go. Iron Maiden. Also picked up Behemoth's latest album, The Shit of God. This is Nuclear Blast. Obviously 2025 if it's brand new. I did get the clear vinyl, which you can see right there. This is the wide release variant. I do know there are much fancier versions online, but I wanted to cover this one on the channel sooner than later, so here we are. And speaking of which, I'll talk a whole lot more about this one in the next vinyl haul, so definitely check back in for that. There's the back with the track listings for you, just in case you need that. Anyways, I also picked up Rat's 1990 album, I believe. This is Detonator. This is from BMG. This is a 2024 reissue on red vinyl there for you. This is kind of an underrated Rat album. I think a lot of folks don't really talk about it much as a result. I love it quite a bit, perhaps even more than the 2 records before this. I did want to get an OG copy for the longest time, but they get so pricey, so I just got impatient and grabbed this edition. So pretty cool, though. It's the back for you. And let's see if there's anything interesting about it. I don't know if this is a faithful reproduction of the inner sleeve, because there's really nothing there. I mean, where are the lyrics, right? I don't know. You can let me know in the comments. So anyways, there you go. Rat, Detonator. Also picked up this Megadeth bootleg. This is Hammersmith 1987, released by Cult Legends in 2024. This was recorded on March 6, 1987, so this is the Peace Sells tour. See the tracks there for you. I actually did see this tour about 2.5 months later at the long since gone Living Room in Providence, Rhode Island, where they headlined along with Overkill and the Necros. Great show. Anyways, really nice to have some live material from this era of the band, and I always think of these as kind of souvenirs or mementos. If I saw the tour itself, this is the same tour, even though I didn't see this very show at Hammersmith. Doesn't matter. It still is that way. We've got black vinyl there, custom labels. Very, very cool. So, Megadeth, live at Hammersmith. Next shop was Recycled Records in Longmont, and I wasn't sure about this place initially, but I did find their sizable metal section amongst the shelves storage bins that you just slide out and go through. It's an interesting little system they got. Found some pretty great records here, some of which I passed on, some of which I bought. As for the latter, let's start with Spinal Tap. This is Break Like the Wind. Picture Disc variant released by MCA. This is the 2010 reissue. And I could probably let this out of the bag at this point and say that yes, I am working on a Spinal Tap collection video, likely to coincide with the movie sequel coming out this fall. So you'll see this picture disc again at that point. Thought I was all set with the collectibles I was going to show on that, but then this popped up in the bin. I just had to add it to the collection. To show you quickly, I take it out of the plastic there for you. It does look like the original. I think the original came out in 1992. There was a picture disc in 1992, so pretty cool. More look there for you. Very nice. Also picked up Girl's debut album. This is Sheer Greed. This is an OG white label promo. Very interesting. From Jet Records in 1980. As I said, this is their first album, and they only put out 2 studio records, including 1982's Wasted Youth. They're basically British glam rock, but you might also recognize a couple of the guys on this cover. Right in the middle here is Phil Lewis, later the singer for LA Guns. And to the right of him is Mr. Phil Collen, who would not long after this would go on to Def Leppard. In fact, both Phils are currently in their respective bands as of 2025, so pretty cool. A couple tracks worth mentioning here. First off is Hollywood Tease. It's the first track on side 1. Hollywood Tease was later done by LA Guns on their first album back in 1988, self-titled debut. Pretty cool song. I do like the LA Guns version a lot more than this one, but this one's still quite listenable, and it is kind of interesting to hear the original. So if you ever listen to that first LA Guns album, Hollywood Tease is kind of a cover song because Girl did it originally. Also, right here on the B-side is Do You Love Me, obviously originally by Kiss. They do a cover version of it. They also have a music video out for that cover version. You can search YouTube for that if you're interested. This is on, as I showed you, Jet Records. It's interesting to see a white label version of a Jet Records release. I had never seen that before. There you go. Also, it did come with the inner sleeve, which is a little bit ripped on one side, but you still get all the lyrics and all that other stuff. And interestingly enough, there's also this little one sheet here with reviews from Melody Maker and Sounds and all those folks on here. You don't expect to find this kind of stuff in a record that's 45 years old, but there it is. Anyways, Girl, Sheer Greed. Also picked up Oz, Third Warning. This is an OG copy, Combat Records 1984. So you can see the original green labels there. As you can imagine, based on the title, this is their third album. Of course, their second album, Fire in the Brain, it feels like they get a lot more attention for that one, but I do dig this one as well. They are Finnish heavy metal, and they're still around, apparently, with a reformation in 2010. Again, probably need to get that second album, but I'm glad I found this one. I remember the production on this record wasn't all that great, but the songs are pretty fun. So here it is. It's in my collection now, and why not? Track listings on the back there for you. Pretty fun band. I would definitely recommend checking into them, this record and Fire in the Brain as well. Very cool. Also picked up Deaf Dealer's album Keeper of the Flame. This is an OG copy. Metal Blade Records, 1986. This is the band's first album. They are Canadian heavy metal. Only album they did in the classic era, with a couple records put out in the 2010s. And yes, they do seem to be reformed and are still active. As for this record, imagine Exciter gone totally Nawabum, and you're basically in the ballpark. Plus, it's a Metal Blade record from the mid-1980s, so how am I going to pass that up? I'm just not. So there you go. Nothing else in there. Nope, just the record. Next up is Ozzy Osbourne with the Over the Mountain 12-inch UK single, Jet Records 1981. There are the Jet labels there for you. Anyways, like Iron Maiden, I also have a cherished era for Ozzy, namely between 1980 and 1984. And I'm also a big fan of these 12-inch singles that were more of a thing in the UK than here in the States. Often enough, they had a few more songs, or at least one or two more songs than the US version on 7-inch. Except for this one, of course, this is only 2 songs. I don't know what that's about. You get I Don't Know. I believe it's a live version on the B-side. I believe it is. Again, I haven't heard it yet, so we'll find out. But that's what it's listed as. Pretty cool. Over the Mountain, Ozzy Osbourne. It's from my favorite Ozzy album, Diary of a Madman. I think there's also one for Flying High Again, a 12-inch single, and I think they use the exact same picture, if I'm not mistaken, but pretty cool. Really glad to find us in really decent shape. Ozzy Osbourne, Over the Mountain. Next is Yngwie J. Malmsteen with Rising Force. This is an OG copy, Polydor Records, 1984. There you go. So basically, here's the story on this one. Back when I first started seriously collecting vinyl again last decade, I bought a European pressing of this record, but I really didn't pay attention to the grading. Sure enough, it popped and crackled and hissed and skipped like crazy. Never got around to returning it, so it just festers in my collection waiting for a replacement. And sure enough, there was an American pressing right there in the stacks, and this was sealed. So how much cleaner could a record get than that? Anyways, so many years later, I finally have a listenable copy of this album. And I love this album a lot. It's probably one of my favorite Yngwie albums. The first 3 albums are pretty much untouchable. I do love Marching Out. Trilogy is pretty amazing as well. This record has, I think, only like 2 tracks. I think it's 2 that have vocals. The rest of it's instrumental. But, you know, it's all about Yngwie, isn't it? There you go. Yngwie Malmsteen, Rising Force. Anyways, coming up next is Sabotage with Sirens. This is the Combat Gray Camo reissue, but also from 1985. That's basically when they switched the green labels over to gray camos. It was later in 1985 because I think Exodus is Bonded by Blood, which came out in August, was originally green and then quickly went to gray camo, so it was sometime in the last 4 or 5 months of that year, just in case you need the record nerd info there for you. Anyways, this is probably my favorite Sabotage album. I did have this as a kid, and this cover very specifically, not the boat copy. Not sure if my original copy's labels were gray camos or the original green, but I do remember owning this for sure. In fact, had I bought this copy sooner than I did, it definitely would have been showing up on my Great Purge of 1987 video. If you haven't watched that, please go see it. It's pretty good. And yes, this is a grail, so it will show up in my 2025's grail video, again, if I make one this year. Sticker price of this one was $135 US, and while chatting with the clerk, I got him down to $100, but then the owner walked into the store, spotted the transaction, and put her foot down. Somehow, I managed to get her to agree to $115, so that's what I paid. But truly, I fucking love this album. It is so well worth it. Here's the back cover for you. A little bit of ring wear, not too bad, but it's an amazing album, what can I say? Great songs through the title track alone. My God, I love that song. Twisted Little Sister's great. This version of Out on the Streets is here. Great stuff. There you go. Sabotage, Sirens. Next store I went to is Absolute Vinyl Records in Longmont. It's a pretty tiny store with not a lot of records when compared to the others. Admittedly, not a lot of metal here either, but I did find a sequel of sorts to a record I already had. And that record is Scorpions' Best of Volume 2. This is an OG copy, RCA Records, 1984. There you go. This wasn't a matter of completing the set because I already owned Volume 1 from 1979. There's a track listing there for you. So I spotted the second one, and it being in much better shape than the copy I had seen at an earlier store, I just basically had to grab it. I even had the clerk play it for a bit on their stereo first, and it sounded pretty decent, so glad I picked it up. Scorpions, Volume 2, Best of, all of that. Pretty cool. Next shop was Twist and Shout in Denver, and I gotta say, I really love this place. Huge selection of records and other related merchandise, not to mention a decent metal section. Found a few interesting records, so let's go through them. This is Candlemass with the Black Star EP. This is the latest album from them, or latest release from them. Napalm Records, 2025. Brand new record. Initially wasn't sure I wanted this, but then I found myself streaming it quite a bit, and it really did grow on me. So now I have it. And of course, I will discuss this one more on the next vinyl haul. I'll show you the vinyl. It's black. Track listings there on the back for you. Yeah. Definitely check in the vinyl haul. I definitely want to talk about this one quite a bit. Also picked up Slaughter's Surrender or Die record. This is a demo compilation released by High Roller Records. This is the 2021 reissue of it. And obviously this is the Canadian death thrash band and not the hair metal band of the same name. As I said, this is a demo collection, but it's from their original 1985 demo tape. I'll get the track listing there for you. A few companies have released this on other formats over the decades, but this is the High Roller edition. Not sure if that makes it more or less special, but there you go. And I will also go into more depth on this one during the next episode of Vinyl Haul. Of course. I don't know if there's anything really special in here, other than you've seen the High Roller Records list of stuff. But yeah, it's also a nice little card there. Lyrics. Again, we'll go through all of this a lot later. Vinyl is a lovely red. So there you go. Also picked up a 10-inch EP from Gall's Word. This is The Humming Mountain, released in 2021 by Season of Mist. I'm just going to leave this one in the plastic because you will see this once again in the next episode of Vinyl Haul, of course. Haven't heard this yet, but I have heard the latest album, and I'm really digging that, so I'm excited to check out this little record. It'll be fun. I haven't bought a 10-inch in a while, so yeah, definitely be into this one. Next store was Wax Trax in Denver, and yes, I also did an episode on this place for the Record Store Report sometime back, which you can check out later. Anyway, since Wax Trax is actually two stores on the same block, one used records, the other new records, I really hit the new vinyl shop this time around. And from there, I did grab a couple titles, including this one. This is Crypt Sermon with the Stygian Rose, released by Dark Descent Records in 2024. Which means I finally broke down and bought this. I mean, it really didn't grab me when it first came out. And I probably mentioned that in a video or two, but it was decently priced at the shop, and I do love the other albums from this band, so I thought I'd just pull the trigger and get it. Maybe I'll chat about this one in a much later vinyl haul. Not sure, but I have it now, so it's definitely going to get at least one spin, and hopefully more than that. Got on orange vinyl. Very cool. Track listings there for you. Yeah. So, Crypt Sermon, great band. I'm hoping I really grow to love this album. I mean, I bought it, so maybe I should do more than hope. Maybe I should just listen to it. There you go. After that, I got Funeral Leech. This is The Illusion of Time, released by Carbonized Records in 2024. This is an American death doom band that I saw at least a couple members of the VC here on YouTube talk about quite favorably, so I really wanted to get it. Had it tabbed in my browser for many, many months, but then ran into it in the store and just thought, you know what? Just get it now. And so I did. And like some of the other records mentioned previously, I'll also talk about this one in the next vinyl haul. So definitely check back in for that. There it is. Black vinyl. Just back there with some track listings maybe, so maybe not. No, just a lovely graphic. There you go. Funeral Leech. There you go. Next, I went to Angelo's in Denver, and specifically the one in Denver, as I do believe they have a second store elsewhere. Funny thing is that maybe 5 years back, I was kind of disappointed in their amount of metal stock. It was pretty paltry, but they really got amazing since then, and now it's one of my favorite shops for metal in the area. If you're there, just go directly downstairs, and that's where the metal vinyl is. I always find at least a few good ones here, including these. Start with Suicidal Angels. This is Profane Prayer, released by Nuclear Blast in 2024. So another record that I know quite a few of my fellow YouTubers spoke very well of, and I did stream it some months back, putting it in my buy list, but just not getting to it in a timely manner. So like other albums, there it was in front of me, and so I decided to just get it once and for all. By the way, Greek thrash metal, which may or may not be apparent by this cover art. I mean, even I wasn't initially sure what genre this was when I first saw the cover art, but yeah, thrash, and pretty good stuff as well. Quick look at the track listings there for you. And it comes in. Red vinyl. There you go. Very awesome. There it is. Suicidal Angels. Also picked up Night Demon's latest album, Outsiders, came out in 2023 by Century Media Records. Again, another album that spent way too long on my buy list. And I do love this band a lot. I did see them late last year live, along with King Diamond and Overkill. Killer live band, by the way. Tons of energy and enthusiasm for their entire set. You should definitely see them if you get the chance. Anyways, yeah, wanted it, waited too long, finally got it. Here it is on, it's a Coke bottle vinyl. It doesn't glow in the dark. I thought it might. I did put it up against the light and put it in the closet. It did glow. Unlike my Night Demon shirt that actually does glow in the dark. Pretty fun. Anyways, there's a track listing there for you very, very quickly. Yeah, pretty cool. Night Demon, Outsider. I figured, one Night Demon album wasn't enough, so here's another. This is Darkness Remains. It was originally released in 2017, but this is a reissue from 2024 by Night Demon Records on yellow. And yeah, if you got to have one Night Demon album, again, why not get another one? Makes sense. So I have these two. That means I have everything else from this band, barring singles and their live album, which means I need to get their live album one day. Pretty cool. Quick look at the track listings on the back there for you. Again, I love this band. I would love to see them live again because they're very, very cool live. So there you go, Night Demon. Next shop I hit was Chain Reaction in Lakewood, and this is another strongly recommended place to hit for metal or even punk because that's almost all they sell. If you've been there over the last couple of years, you probably noticed that they did move 2 store lots down as someone literally smashed a car through their old shop. Crazy. In fact, there is a news story clip on the car accident on a local Denver station. It's on YouTube. You can check it out. I actually did watch it. Crazy. Anyways, the new place is a bit bigger and the stock really can't be beat, which is where I got the following. Start with Savage Grace. This is Master of Disguise, OG copy, but on Black Dragon Records, 1985. And yes, some might remember that a viewer of mine sent me a CD reissue of this album because I really made a fuss about how much I dig the album cover, but also the album itself. So now I have the vinyl. Anyways, they are American power speed metal, kind of a rough-hewn version of Omen or Liegelord. And again, this goddamn cover. Love it. Anyways, you can call this one a grail, and you might see it again on the grails video. If I do one, maybe, all of that. It also did come with the original inner sleeve there. You got lyrics on both sides as well. Very awesome. Great to have this record. Very excited about it. But if you think that's the only Savage Grace album I got, think again. Here we are with After the Fall from Grace, OG copy, also on Black Dragon Records, but released in 1986. Of course, I couldn't resist just one Savage Grace album. Had to get another. This one's speedy at times still, but maybe a touch more polished. Really dig the raised letters on the title here. Someone spent some money on that. Also, a great cover image. Not as great as Master of Disguise, but still pretty good. And does she even have arms? It's kind of hard to tell. I'm sure they're in there somewhere, I think. Anyways, Savage Grace, 2 albums just because I wanted them. And this one did come with an inner sleeve as well. There it is. Lyrics on both sides. Nice to have all of those little extras. I guess if you consider an inner sleeve an extra. There it is. And there's nothing else in there. Nope. There you go. Savage Grace. Also picked up another classic. This is Hyrax with Raging Violence. This is an OG copy, but a European pressing instead. This is Roadrunner, 1985. And I've been on a bit of a Hyrax kick lately. And to be honest, I never bought one of their albums in the classic era. I'm not even sure why, but it certainly wasn't intentional. It's just how it went. But with the release of their latest album, I've been digging into their back catalog quite a bit through streaming. So when I ran into this OG copy of this record, I just couldn't pass it up. Killer American thrash metal through and through, which is to say that I wish I had heard more of this back when I was a kid. Definitely. There's the back there for you. Produced by Hyrax. Awesome. Looks like Bill Matoyer helped a little bit though too. He's with Metal Blade. He's going to do that. And there's Caton. Look how young Caton is. Amazing. There you go. Hyrax, Raging Violence. Very excited to have this one. And a little strange entry here. This is Hanoi Rocks with Bangkok Shock, Saigon Shakes, Hanoi Rocks. This is a reissue from Uzi Suicide Records, 1989. And this was definitely a surprise. I didn't ever knew this variant even existed. It is yellow vinyl. I do have a 1985 pressing on PVC Records, but that's on black wax. Just didn't expect this colored variant at all. Of course, Uzi's Suicide Records is basically Axl Rose's record label, and he did release a bunch of Hanoi rock stuff in 1989, including this colored vinyl version of Hanoi's first album, apparently. So being a fan of this band, and of this era specifically, I couldn't let this one go. Also, if you're not familiar with them, they are Finnish glam rock and highly influential on a lot of hair metal bands, or hair metal adjacent acts like Guns N' Roses, obviously. Maybe an acquired taste, but I definitely dig them. Let me just show you some of the, take some of this out of the plastic, it's a lot easier to see. There you are, there's the front cover, back there with some track listings for you. Also, the vinyl itself. You don't see a lot of colored vinyl in 1989, so pretty cool. There you go. Next up is Steeler with Come Hell or Hollywood. This is yellow vinyl variant. It's in there somewhere. There it is. This was released by Lost Realm Records in 2025. This is a new compilation of old material from the band, obviously 1981 to 1982, as the title suggests and states outright. The band was comprised of Ron Keel on vocals, who would later go on to form the band Keel. After these recordings, they released their one and only studio album, which then had one-time guitarist Yngwie J. Malmsteen, to mention him again, before he too went off to greener pastures. Really love that self-titled debut record from this band, so getting this early material was just a no-brainer. Also, as an aside, I did run into this record at the first 3 shops I visited, but they were all the black variant, and I wanted to hold out for a colored one. Glad I did, because Chain Reaction had what I wanted right in their bins. Totally lucked out. Anyways, I'll definitely go into this release further on the next vinyl haul, because I'm absolutely going to want to talk about this one some more. Guaranteed. Next store was Black and Red in Arvada, and that's red as in R-E-A-D, because black for black wax and red for books, so it's a combination bookstore and record store. Is that clever? I don't know. Anyways, this shop also moved in the last year or so. Their new place is huge compared to the old store. I mean, it's supermarket size now. And I'd say about a third of the place is records, with the remaining space mostly for books and other collectibles. The metal section here is in a number of bins. It's not too small, but not too huge either. Still, I did manage to find this record. This is Sabotage with their second album, Power of the Night. OG copy, Atlantic Records. 1985. It even came with the original Atlantic Records dust jacket. Very, very nice. Anyways, being the last store I went to, and admittedly the point at which my money started to get a little tight, I had to get kind of choosy about what I was going to buy here. Already limited myself to one record before I walked in, and so this was the record I got. And yes, getting Sirens did put the band in my head, and this is yet another record I really love from them. As I said, second album by Sabotage. Anyways, I have almost all of the Sabotage albums I really want at this point, more or less. But it's nice to find an OG copy of this and in decent shape. There's track listing there for you. Great songs on here. Unusual is probably one of my favorites. I do love the title track quite a bit. Yeah, great good stuff. There it is. Sabotage. Power of the Night. So here's the total I spent at each place. Not the most I've shelled out for vinyl on a vacation, but it's really up there for sure. Not surprised I spent the most at Recycled Records and Chain Reaction, as I would again recommend those places if you're ever in the area. Anyways, I wanted to go through some of the records I had to pass on, a couple of which a little tough to let go. They definitely include Enforced with Kill Grid. I found that at Paradise Found. Found it at Paradise Found. How about that? They only had black vinyl, and I did want colored, which I could get somewhere online. I mean, it's not an uncommon record, and I do run into the black vinyl version a bunch, but yeah. I do love the album, though, a lot. I really love War Remains after that, but I really want to get a copy of Kill Grid, and one day I'll find one on colored vinyl and all of that. So there it is. Also, I found a copy of Vardis's debut album, 100 MPH, OG. It was at Black and Red, and I don't know why I didn't get it. I guess I was limiting myself to one record when I went to Black and Red. I got the Sabotage record instead. I remember the price on Vardis was probably over 30, but under 50. I can't remember the exact price. But I just remember not wanting to pay too much for that kind of a record, even though it's classic Nawabum, and I just wanted the Sabotage record more. So that's how that went. Anyways, next is Trench Hell with Southern Cross Ripper. They had 2 copies at the store. This is again black and red. And they actually had a Hell's Headbangers subsection in their metal section, which is amazing. I'm just going to assume there's a metalhead who works there, because if you look at the place, it looks otherwise like a thrift store, like an indoor thrift store or a charity shop for those across the pond. Crazy, but there it was. Yeah, I could have gotten it, I could have not got it. I know Hell's is probably still selling it, so it wasn't a big priority. And again, I wanted the Sabotage records. There you go. Anyways, next is Blessed Death with Kill or Be Killed. This was that Chain Reaction. And I really feel like I should have bought this one. You know, I bought the Hyrax and the Savage Grace stuff, but Blessed Death was just staring at me. I couldn't remember the record really well. After I left the store, of course, I streamed it. I was like, oh, that record, because I remembered some songs. I think my buddy Eric may or may not have owned it. He'll let me know in the comments. But yeah, I should have bought it. That one I should have bought. That one kind of killed me a little bit. Anyways, there's also Enforcer with Nostalgia. I believe that's their latest album. I found it at Angelo's, and I was kind of making choices between Night Demon and Enforcer. I do love Night Demon quite a bit more, and I didn't want to spend too much. I was trying to be a little bit measured, a little bit restrained in my spending, mostly because I knew I was going to other stores. So I did pass on the Enforcer record. I have Zenith, but I'm not the biggest fan of that. I do like Nostalgia more because I have streamed it, so it's one of those records I probably should get one of these days, but it just didn't happen at Angelo's. So there you go. Also, Black Sabbath with Eternal Idol. This is an OG copy. It was at Recycled Records. Can't remember the exact price, but I do recall it being a little expensive for what I wanted to pay for it. And I do know that RSD red vinyl thing is out there. I saw it everywhere. That was in every shop I went to. Apparently, it doesn't sell as well as we thought it might. But yeah, I will buy an OG copy of this record. I'm probably just going to wait until the prices are a little more agreeable in whatever store I'm in or online or whatever. So there you go. Of course, there were also records I simply couldn't find, but I thought I would. And that definitely includes the latest album from Night. It's called Cult of the Serpent Sun. I mean, I even found other Night records in a couple stores, but just not this one. I was really surprised because it's, you know, they're a band that's out there. They're blackened heavy metal. I love them. I have everything else from Night, so I figured I would get it at a store. One of the 8 I went to, and sure enough, none of the 8 had it. I was just a little shocked about that. Also, I was looking for the latest album from Onslaught, the compilation album called Origins of Aggression, and I was really shocked not to find this one. I mean, there's so many other, I found other Onslaught albums, but just not this one, and I don't know, maybe it's not getting as much US distro, I'm not sure, but thought I'd find it, just didn't. It's weird. Also, the latest album from Lady Beast, The Inner Alchemist, which is really weird because I ran into a lot of Dying Victims Productions records in every single store I went to, just not this record. But, you know, it's kind of fine because I'm going to see them live this month, and the band told me that they would have vinyl at the merch table, so I should be all set there. But it was odd to see so many of their label mates in the bins, but not them. I don't know. It just didn't make any sense. So out of all the records I got in Colorado, which ones were your favorites? Had you ever been to these record stores that I'd mentioned? And if so, what do you think of them? Maybe you even got some cool records there. You should let me know that. In fact, tell me whatever comes to mind in the comments below. And if you're joining me for the very first time and you're wondering what else I do here, my name is Matt. This is the Accusation Network, where each and every week I do videos on metal vinyl collecting, but also classic and modern metal in general. If you like the sound of that and you have yet to subscribe to my channel, it'd be really awesome if you did that. Maybe also give this video a like and share out this and other videos of mine with your friends on social media. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.